So hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on implementing Agile marketing strategy with Salesforce and Pardot. My name is Parag and I am the product marketing manager at Hebo. I'll be your today's host and moderator for this session. Let me quickly introduce you to our today's speaker, Tigh Loughhead, who is a founder of Forcery and a four-time Salesforce MVP. Welcome, Tigh. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Parag. Great to see everybody.
Perfect. So before we start, just would like to remind you of a few things. So all attendees will be on listen-only mode. We are going to obviously record this session, and we'll be sharing with you the recording. During the session, if you have any questions, then you can just type them in the Q&A window available on your screen. Perfect. So before we jump onto the session, I assume there might be quite a few folks who have joined us today would be new to Hevo or would be joining for our webinar for the first time. So let me just quickly introduce you to Hevo. So Hevo is a no-code data pipeline platform that integrates your data spread across multiple data sources into a centralized repository, which is typically a data warehouse or a data lake. So the platform basically provides 100 plus pre-built integrations with different types of data sources, including databases, data warehouses, SaaS applications, SDK, and streaming data services, and many more. So Heroic is currently used by thousands of data professionals and marketing data analysts spread across 26 different countries. Now we'll just talk a little bit about our new offering, which is Hevo Activate, which is pretty much related to our today's webinar, which is on Salesforce and Pardot. So this is Hevo Activate is a newly launched offering. It lets you connect your warehouse data to any of your marketing, sales, or business application. So with this tool, you will be able to gather all your customer data in one tool and find actionable insights on top of it. As you all know, Salesforce is the number one CRM platform, and almost every marketing or sales guy uses it to analyze the customer data. So hence we have built a ready-to-use integration with Salesforce that will help you easily move all your marketing, sales, support, or success data from different tools or systems to Salesforce and analyze it in a better way. If you want to know more about Hevo or our offerings, then you can check our website www.hevodata.com. You can sign up for a free trial there, or maybe schedule a demo with our product expert and just take a product walkthrough. All right, so let me quickly introduce our today's speaker. So Tigh is the founder of Forcery, is building scalability through MarTech infrastructure and digital information for enterprises globally. So he's a marketing technology thought leader. He is a four-time Salesforce MVP and instructor for Salesforce Trailhead Academy, and a writer, a teacher, a mentor on MarTech, AI, analytics, sales, and marketing automation. So he handles a lot of aspects within the marketing. Tigh is also a passionate about motorcycling. He is a president of Gotham Ducati Desmo Owners Club, which is based in New York City. So with this introduction, I'll request Tigh to take over the control and start with the presentation.
All right, we should be good to go. Let me know if you can see my screen. And
yes,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Parag. I'm super excited to be here today talking about agile marketing. And before we dive too deep, I think it's important to define what we mean by the term agile within a marketing context. So to put it as simply as I can, agile marketing is the process of iteratively developing marketing success. And Agile in a marketing context was adapted from a software development approach, continually refining and enriching instead of your technology deployment process, but rather your marketing technology stack, as well as the targeting and the impact of your actual marketing initiatives. And the key to agile marketing is constant measurement. I like to say that achievables must be measurable to be deliverable, and agile marketing replaces the quarterly or monthly marketing planning approach as that very similar to software deployment replaces waterfall deployment or measurement inefficiencies. Marketing automation is really the key to iterative marketing success as it creates an ecosystem for tracking and measurement. And at the hub is your CRM as a single source of truth. And we'll talk a lot more about what all of that means throughout this session. So my history personally is really as a data-driven marketer. I cut my teeth at a full-service advertising agency here in downtown Manhattan, going all the way back to the 2008 financial downturn. The traditional agency model of taking your 15% cut of media buys was on its way out. It was really dying as an industry. And the way that we really excelled was by not even having contracts with clients. We retained our business with the success of our advertising performance, but we had to prove this success whenever a client asked. And this kept my entire team in and out of our different analytics platforms. At this time, there was really kind of a massive proliferation of different types of targeting tools and customer data, a lot of which is not even available anymore due to privacy legislation. And this constant this constant advance and pressure to really demonstrate success kind of turned me into a lead generation ninja. I then spent the following 5 years running a data-driven marketing team in-house at a real estate tech firm. And that really started my journey into actually architecting and building MarTech infrastructure from the ground up with a real focus on scalability and scalable growth. I had used Salesforce and email marketing before, but this was kind of my first opportunity to get really creative, not only with messaging and like generating leads, but in providing an ever improving ecosystem that was actually informed by our buyers' behavior, that we could use technology to record and store, but then also improve our marketing effectiveness to enable our sales teams. The last couple of years, I have been building out a MarTech consultancy, Forcery, as Parag mentioned, and our focus is really on Salesforce and Pardot. But we're also a Google Ads partner, and we advise a number of different enterprise firms, but also rapid growth firms as well, having anything to do with attribution, technical infrastructure, and digital transformation. And while Salesforce and Pardot are really my tools of choice, I'd also like to put it out there that I like to say that I'm a little bit agnostic to the specific technology you use to deliver success. Agile is more about a methodology of continual improvement rather than any reliance on a specific software platform. So I want to set the stage and talk about the MarTech landscape. The marketplace today of digital marketing is incredibly crowded, and many marketers find it challenging to attribute and then even align different types of marketing sources and channels and media. How do you measure engagement against conversion, against deals, and how do you even tell different platforms how they actually even define these terms or compare them against one another? And to make matters worse, the number of tools have increased drastically. So the data has increased exponentially, the platforms have exploded, and many marketers find it challenging as there isn't a single tool to solve for this growing disarray. And this is why I love Salesforce and Salesforce Pardot, as it has the potential to standardize and store all different customer data points. Arguably, this could be any platform as long as it integrates with other tools in your technology stack. If your organization utilizes that tool as a single source of record. But Salesforce is especially valuable as it integrates so many different platforms, different cloud technologies out of the box or via integrations. And if you layer on Pardot marketing automation, you're truly creating a marketing automation ecosystem of buyer behavior all the way through the customer lifecycle. And Pardot syncs customer behavior, not only from email, but via web activity, from social media, ads, really any measurable digital channel, allowing you to build a more robust data set and then iteratively segment based on both customer behavior and sales activity and create almost a virtuous feedback loop where your team is learning and adapting on the fly based on real-time customer input. Using Salesforce and Pardot requires you to think about how to ingest all of this data and standardize the KPIs that matter to your organization. And this process really begins by identifying what those channels are and understanding how each one of them can bring data into your Salesforce platform. Certain customer engagement data from Pardot emails or your website, like I said, is captured automatically using tracking cookies and tracking pixels in your emails. But there are other ways to bring in previously non-tracked activities into the system as well. There are integrations from analytics platforms. You can, take data from data warehouses or data lakes, as Parag was mentioning, and transform that into KPIs for your customers. And I'll talk about one of the tried and true methods that really spans my entire digital marketing experience of how we've used Pardot to capture UTM parameters across all different marketing channels in just a minute. But the goal here is really to completely map out your marketing to sales funnel. And marketing and sales cannot be siloed. Instead, they're almost a continuum. And the act of agile marketing is to continually build out the single source of truth from your CRM. KPIs can be marketing focused, looking at the bottom of your funnel all the way back to your marketing sources, or looking at return on investment per channel or initiative, or attribution can be figured from the top down, understanding, engagement per or lead cost per one opportunity. Now, there are a number of obvious challenges here to most customer databases that I've worked with. The first one is that different departments always have different goals, and how they define success within different teams typically corresponds to executing one portion of the overall deal cycle. As a result, data ends up being siloed, and even within a marketing team, brand engagement, conversions, retargeting, marketing qualified, sales qualified. Quite often, this data is stored in different places, in different platforms, and there's not even a universal definition of what those terms mean, even within a single organization. This makes it incredibly challenging to deliver contextual journeys to consumers, and this stems back to data, the lack of good data and connectivity between platforms. So as a result, many firms rely on a one-size-fits-all approach as a fallback and choose quantity of exposure over the quality of exposure and burn through huge budgets without really resonating with consumers. Now, I want to talk about one of these issues briefly, and that is the concept of data and data silos. And I've run through this throughout my entire career, but while we're talking about the proliferation of different platforms, we're presented with a real challenge when different KPIs are stored in different places. Maybe you're tracking conversions in a common analytics platform. You can see conversions per channel, but this doesn't tell us who's actually qualified or who this person is in a single database. Then you look at a traditional database. Maybe your sales team is actually working off of a spreadsheet, or maybe they're actually using a CRM, but that analytics information isn't translated or identified to the customer record itself. And then we throw email on top of this, and perhaps another entire team is throwing out e-blasts, and the KPIs that they're measuring are open rates and click-through rates. And perhaps we're even measuring the traffic back to our website through analytics, but this kind of assumes that this is sort of a linear journey. Pardot forms can be used to capture UTM parameters and unify that entire journey. And this can be a standardizing methodology for tracking all digital engagement. We accomplish this by relying not just on Google Analytics to define those UTM parameters, and you might be familiar, with campaign tracking using UTM parameters in GA, but actually using Pardot's own tracking cookie to capture UTM parameters that we coded into every single advertising channel destination URL allowed us to capture this entire ecosystem, ranging from organic traffic to referral sites to our search engine marketing strategy to social media. And this rapid growth startup in the healthcare field was able to connect their customer journey all the way from the first click all the way to a deal, and we were passing those values uh, along through our CRM all the way through the deal lifecycle. There's a little custom development to be done to actually implement that, but it's not too much more difficult than adding a few simple hidden fields in Pardot that we can capture one or multiple source, campaign, and medium fields, allowing for full visibility into that customer lifecycle. And as marketers, we can then access that uh, as standardized data to make real-time changes at the bottom of our funnel out, adjusting our marketing channels on the fly, or again from the top of the funnel down, refining our sales and deal process, all in an agile way. And I just put an example of how we're actually using the Pardot cookie on this Pardot form and exposing the UTM variables that I put in a URL that I used in the source code of the website here. All of this is being done in an agile way to continually improve and remove the barriers to these different data silos, all in an agile way. The next biggest challenge that I hear about is how I can use segmentation or even how I build it out in the first place. And this can be kind of like a chicken and the egg problem. You need to derive data before you use data in marketing. And often the default fallback, as I said, is just a spray and pray approach. It's amazing to me that even in 2021, something like 2/3 of businesses do not use personalization in email because they just don't have the data. And for more modern companies, this presents a huge opportunity and a huge competitive advantage for firms that do. Pardot has some incredible tools that we can use to derive data points that can be used for segmentation, ranging from campaigns to scoring and grading, where we can weigh fit and intent data to contrast engagement. And the way I like to talk about fit and intent is the ability to contrast engagement, how much someone is interested in our company, with an ideal customer profile, how interested we as a company should be interested in our customers. We can use lead nurture campaigns to measure customer interaction with our different assets, our different places on our website. Um, drive drive our customers to different places that we can glean more information about them. And then we talked about how we can capture information directly or by referring marketing channel source via Pardot forms. And lastly, and we'll talk about this specific piece a little bit more as well, we can use marketing automation to deliver contextual messaging, simultaneously delivering more relevant advertising to our consumers while gleaning more information about them over time. And I want to take a step back here and talk about a specific segmentation challenge that I dealt with a couple years back at a real estate tech firm. And we were able to use Pardot personalization tools to optimize that journey in an agile way. We were using Salesforce and Pardot to send out email, but initially we were sending out a monthly newsletter to our entire database. And we had complaints from a few of our agents that particular listings were not relevant to their customers in Manhattan real estate. We were servicing luxury buyers, we were serving just sort of regular Manhattan buyers, and we were servicing renters. And a one size fit all approach didn't really make anyone happy or deliver relevant information that would actually activate our customers. And I realized this wasn't a marketing problem, this was a data problem, and that we could actually use our CRM to personalize customer outreach using data points that we had stored and that we wanted to get into our database. We used a Pardot personalization feature called dynamic content that pulled in information from our CRM database to determine a buyer budget for each one of our customers. And for our agents, buyer budget was one of the core values that we had stored or wanted to have stored in Salesforce. And we used that buyer budget to serve different types of content to our consumers based on who they were on our website and in our emails. And as you can see on the screen, by default, we rendered a typical set of listings. Again, by default, if there was a budget range within a specific threshold, or if we didn't have any data or any value stored for that specific customer stored in the database. However, if the budget was below a certain amount, signifying that the consumer was a renter, we rendered a specific block of properties within a specific price range, within a price range that we had in our database. Similarly, our high-end customers were served luxury properties as a result, and we would only do this if the budget database data point threshold was displayed. And as a result of this tactic, our marketing impact went through the roof. Our click-through rate in our emails actually doubled. Our salespeople were incentivized to do data entry. And if you've ever managed a sales team, you know that is quite a challenge. And our marketing team was able to react in an agile way using a measured approach to optimize our efforts. In using an agile marketing strategy with Salesforce and Pardot, a marketer's job is never done. There is a constant churn to use the data that we have to optimize the performance to get more data so that we can use the data again to optimize again. And if you really want to build an agile marketing team, you need to do this over and over and over again and constantly iterate success. With marketing automation, we can harness that single source of truth within an agile marketing methodology and continually derive more data points about our consumers and then actually deliver more and more impactful marketing. And one of the reasons I was so excited to talk with Hevo Data as is because their product and their products are built to provide connectivity between different platforms and create that single source of truth, solving for that disconnect between all of these different data platforms, sources, and channels that exist out in the digital ecosystem, the digital ether out there. And as data sources proliferate, we can glean more and more information from more and more different platforms, more and more data sources. And there, as these platforms grow, there's going to be an increasing need for aggregation and integration that'll become even more integral to the agile process. Again, Salesforce is the best in class customer relationship platform, and Pardot, the best in class marketing automation suite. Using them together can really turbocharge your single source of truth, but you can really use any platform that you want. If you're doing marketing in a million different places, you'll be limited by what you can see and what you can actually improve. But by combining and integrating all of your marketing efforts, you can make agile improvements and continually optimize your campaign. As Parag mentioned, I run Forcery, a consultancy here in Manhattan. We're a registered Salesforce consulting partner specializing in Sales Cloud, Pardot, and Marketing Cloud. Check us out at www.forcery.com. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or any social media platform. We'd love to talk about your infrastructure needs. Thank you so much, Parag, for having me here today, and thank you everyone for joining. This is one of my big passions, and I love to talk about a single source of truth and combining everything in a marketing automation ecosystem.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Ty, for this insightful presentation. Now it's time for Q&A. If you have any questions, then please share them in the Q&A window available on your screen, and I'll just read out these questions one by one, and I will share his insights on those. Cool. So we have got few questions. Let me just read out them one by one. Okay. So, okay, here is the first question. So, Ty, when is the right time to adopt the agile marketing strategy?
I think that I think that it depends on the size of your organization. It also depends on the growth stage of your company. If you have a brand new firm, a brand new startup, I think it makes the most sense to really architect your own marketing goals in that sort of older waterfall approach. Actually go through the motions and create a marketing plan, define goals and KPIs that you want for quarter, per year, per month, and whatever time frame is the most important for you. However, once you have more than 2 or 3 people on your marketing team, and it really depends on probably your tech savviness as well, because a lot of agile marketing methodology is about being accountable. To that, it's almost a discipline to adapt a Scrum methodology and think about continual optimization. But as your company grows, and as you can actually adapt flexibility and you have certain benchmarks to stand upon, you can then start to incorporate elements of agile marketing methodology into your organization and your marketing technology, stack deployment, and even your marketing operations.
Sure. Here is the second question. How to smoothly transition from traditional approach to agile? And what are the top things to keep in mind while doing this transition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I talked a little bit about how Agile has really been adapted from how software was developed, where you did a bunch of things, you had milestones, and you accomplished everything before moving on to the next thing, and how that can be quite inefficient in that you're constantly waiting for one or another team to actually deploy something. When thinking about transitioning, it's really difficult to kind of level set and make everyone sort of accountable on a linear sort of plane. In agile methodology, you're everyone doing the marketing has the exact same level of insight and the exact same level of access and almost decision making power. So when thinking about transitioning, it can be a real challenge to sort of break everyone's own comfort zones back down to approaching solutioning for marketing challenges, both in terms of a time frame, having marketing KPIs be delivered or reviewed, in a much more frequent schedule, whether or not you have the traditional 2-week sprint for review, and then making sure you have systems and controls in place. Again, like I said, for accountability, making sure that actual um, um, projects, tasks, and initiatives are not, sort of dying on the vine and being overlooked. Again, making sure that there's a clear delegation plan in place for who is responsible for each initiative, and then the different components and tasks that are part of either the technology deployment or the marketing initiative in the first place.
Sure. Now, here's the third question that we've got. How long should it take for a newbie team member to learn agile approach, and how to speed up the entire process?
Yeah, I think that incorporating the different elements of agile should be part of any company's onboarding. When you are bringing someone that may be new to this approach into your daily stand-ups, I always recommend documentation of all processes. And so, the time frame, depending on the complexity of your own org, to actually learn, what is the best sort of process. That can be, a couple week process. It can be a couple month process. But making sure you have, a documentation of guidelines transparently communicated, so that everyone sort of knows that they're a stakeholder in the marketing outcomes, is really key to getting a newbie to become an expert agile marketer.
Sure. Here is one more question. Uh, so even while using Salesforce as a CRM tool, so we how to implement the agile approach or agile methodology for building reports, marketing reports on Salesforce, because reporting often takes a lot of time. Be that daily report, monthly report, weekly reports for the management to consume.
Yeah, so in using agile for reporting, again, it really comes back to your data points that you have in your system, and really defining that. If you're not ingesting common data points, and if you don't understand how the data model actually functions, in terms of Salesforce, and that's another big challenge that I see, that there are really crack marketers out there that are really good at email, or really good at Google ads, maybe really good at social, but they don't understand what they're looking for in Salesforce. They don't understand where to look for a lead, what data points to look on a contact and opportunity, and why that data model actually exists. Aligning your stakeholders around those KPIs, and where those KPIs um, should actually live, that should preclude actually running reports in Salesforce, if it's the marketer that's actually going to be generating those reports. Again, connecting those dots, and this is a little more complicated than just explaining it, but understanding how that data point translates all the way from the first time we've identified someone in the system, all the way to where that data actually lives on the closed won opportunity object, is going to be integral to and foundational to actually building those reports in Salesforce. That also goes for if you are exporting data out of Salesforce. Maybe you don't use Salesforce reporting. You are pulling data in via an integration. You could even use a free integration and model it in a spreadsheet. You could be importing it, on the other hand, into a data lake, and then using like a enterprise business intelligence tool. If there isn't a common definition of how the data flows and where the data resides within the data model, it's going to be really, really difficult, and you're going to almost be starting from scratch every time you try to build out a report in Salesforce.
Absolutely. All right. So we have got, more questions, but because of time constraint, we'll take just one last question. So the traditional agile sprints are around 2 weeks long. How does that translate into marketing developments, products and services updates, development iterations, etc.? Same timelines, longer, or something else?
Yeah, I have seen, and I've worked with a couple of different organizations that have implemented Agile as a methodology for marketing operations. So actually, like, doing the initiative, and then also for marketing, technology deployment. The 2 week sprint it's almost sort of like a general guideline. The most important thing to pay. So the answer to that is, really, it can be shorter, it can be longer. The real key is the discipline that you need to go back and actually review and have that accountability on a regular basis. It's really, really easy to throw a whole bunch of Jira tickets on a board, or into an Epic. It's really easy to create a whole bunch of Trello cards, and break a project into various tasks. But it's also very easy just to completely lose track of what you're doing, and have I have a couple of clients that have Jira boards for every single different element of their business, and they have so many cards that they don't have the discipline to come back and review on a regular cadence. And that really comes down to every single different member of the marketing or martech team continually reviewing, and that's why daily stand-ups are really important. And then Epic or sprint reviews, it needs to be on a regular cadence, and every stakeholder needs to be in alignment with that. Whether or not it makes more sense to, as an org, to have that be a weekly process, if it's a monthly process, or it needs to be variable depending on what you're actually trying to achieve. Something like performance marketing, when you're generating leads, adjustments need to be made on a daily, sometimes many times daily basis, before there is an achievable or an outcome. When you're talking about martech, uh, actual technology implementation, there are probably a whole bunch of different tasks that need to be incorporated into into an overall project or feature launch, and that could potentially even take longer than 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ty, for all the answers. Now, we'll move on. We'll end this session here. So just as a reminder, we are hosting our next webinar, next session on attribution modeling. So wherein we will be deep diving into all the different types of models that marketers can create, and which one is the best suited approach or best suited models that you can typically use in your business. So wherein the webinar will be conducted by Andy Caron. She's the head of Martech Consulting at Revenue Pulse. So do register for this session if you are interested in learning about attribution modeling. So do check out our website and register there. With this, I would like to thank all the attendees for joining us today, and special thanks to Tigh for this awesome presentation. If you have any questions or feedback about this session, then please write to me at parag, P-A-R-A-G, @hevodata.com. See you for our next webinar, and take care, stay safe.